So we're here today, just following on from the conversation I had with the parent about the high school that has a girl in the boys' change rooms, and her son has been exposed to her down to her underwear, her bras and her undies for the last 10 months. And he was 13 when this started. He's now 14. Okay. Now the parent asked, what can she do? She feels like if she approaches the school, she'll be labelled as a hater and transphobic, even though, you know, there's no animosity whatsoever. It's just concern for her son's privacy and respect. So what would your response be to this parent?
My response to the parent would be getting in contact with the school and asking to see their child's safe policies, because your child is a minor. And by the sounds of things, I would be asking whether my child was engaged in decision making and whether he was his rights were respected in that. That is one of the key parts of the child safe standards.
And I can actually tell you from the parent that she told me the boys actually didn't know it was going to happen. She just walked into the change rooms, and they've never had any conversation whatsoever at the school around this girl being in the boys' change rooms.
Yeah, I bet I'm going to make an assumption that there's probably been conversations with the girl that is going into the change rooms, and possibly that girl's parents. I find it really confronting that the boys haven't been engaged in that conversation, and neither have their parents. And according to Child Safe Standards 3, children and young people are empowered about their rights, participate in decisions affecting them, and are taken seriously. So as a parent, if it was me, I'd be going in there and demanding that my child, that they haven't met the Child Safe Standards, finding out what their policy is for making complaints officially, and trying to initiate discussions. The problem is people are trying to avoid these discussions, that nothing's happening, and they're putting people, and in this case, minors, children under the age of 16, in really risky situations, and not acknowledging the complex and beautifully diverse needs that we have in our young people. That we have people that deserve protecting, that might have cultural or linguistically diverse needs. They might have different religious beliefs, and we have to remember that they have protected attributes as well. They're a protected attribute, and they deserve the same conversations, and as the Child Safe Standards say, taken seriously, that if this conversation does take place with the boys, that it's done in a way that is keeping that child safe from vilification, and making sure that they feel safe enough to actually express how they are truly, really feeling, without the fear of being labelled something negative. Because
vilified.
Just because they are young growing boys, and whether they do have a religious belief or cultural difference or not, it doesn't matter. If they feel uncomfortable, then we should be respecting the rights of young people, especially minors. And there's more than one way to solve a problem, and if this young person is identifying as male or something like that, there's other ways that, with the right engagement and conversations with families and young people in a respectful way, there's lots of other ways that they could be solving this problem. That's probably a lot less risky, because my other concern is this young person, that they're putting them in a situation where these boys are actually feeling uncomfortable, and something could happen. My biggest concern too is whether you ever end up in a situation. So I'd be trying to tell my child, don't ever be in a one-on-one situation in the change rooms either, because I would be saying, making sure you've got at least one other male with you, because the minute you're in a one-on-one situation too, you're protecting yourself from her going, he looked at me the wrong way, or he touched me, or,
Which could still happen even with a group of people.
It could, but with a group of people there, you've got more than one person. Like if you're in a one-on-one situation, you don't have that protection of other witnesses. So there's a lot of issues when you're looking at it from a risk management point of view of things that could happen.
Go wrong.
even for that person to protect them, like if there are any snide remarks or anything being made, like that's not great
And
for
it
their
sounds
mental
like
health.
there are.
And that's not safe either. And so I think it's the whole situation's being really mishandled, and I think it comes down to a real lack of communication then if parents haven't been engaged in how they feel about that, and more importantly the minors who have to be in this situation.
Yep. Well, the parents,
it's not in line with child safe standards at all.
Parents don't even know that there is a policy that allows, you know, a girl to go in the boys' change room and change. They're becoming aware through the situation, but they're not even aware. So when they send their son to school at 13, they fully believe their son is being protected from situations like this, and it's such a shock to learn that they're not. And I guess the other thing I would say is, whether it's a boy or a girl, sexual abuse is far too common today. We know, you know, often we talk about female sexual abuse and that it could be 1 in 3 girls abused sexually as a child. That's huge. But there's also statistics to show that up to 1 in 4 boys are sexually abused as children. And if you've got 1 in 4 boys potentially having been sexually abused, how do they feel being exposed to almost naked opposite sex in the same room? Because sometimes it is women that are sexually abusing boys. It does happen.
Yes, yeah, yep. It does happen, and it is spoken a lot less about because it's not something, it doesn't fit the narrative and things like that. We want to pitch the men as abusers. I'm a survivor of abuse, and I was abused by women. So it's not women abusing or females abusing is not a common thing that you hear about, but I agree. I know for a fact that it does happen. And but yeah, my biggest concern is just the lack of communication. And I mean, if there is a policy, have they been engaged? Have the young people been engaged in this policy? Because according to child safe standards, they should be if it's affecting them. And I think this is a huge situation where it is affecting them.
And people will minimize this situation and say, look, it's just, you know, she's not fully naked, but it actually is not something that should be trivialized or minimized. And we're going to have to leave it there because unfortunately both of us have other commitments today.
Yeah.
But thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate Tabitha's expertise around child safe, and we hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.